Ken Berry.
Ken Berry. Whatever happened to Ken Berry?
Yeah, Ken Berry. Huh.
He's died? Is that the idea, do you think? He's dead?
Probably.
I don't know.
There they are, back at the diner. It's Grace, Dave, and Wally, and they're about to get their jibber-jabber on. Look, I just read this stuff, okay? Whatever. Let's listen in.
There was a 1960s English paperback about sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the London mod scene called Brushes with Greatness. From there, I could find nothing until the Simpsons episode in 1991, and then the Letterman bits in the early 90s.
Did you check the Oxford English Dictionary?
I actually did.
Oh, no.
But
no way.
They don't have anything.
Isn't it? I felt sure that was a phrase that had just been co-opted for pop culture.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I felt for sure that. I thought it had to do with, had been applied to Winston Churchill or something like that.
Right. And that's one of your stories, right? You met Winston Churchill.
No, but I thought you were going to bring up Gloria Swanson. I've got a great story about Gloria Swanson.
Yeah, right.
You were Winston Churchill's nanny for a time.
Oh, come on. You're killing me.
But you're right. I thought of it was a historical reference, and then...
Yeah, isn't that funny? It's so funny because there's so many phrases now that the only way I can keep up with them is because I have a 16-year-old. Otherwise, I would have no idea what half the things people are saying today mean. And it's not like I'm not an old fuddy-duddy.
Well, it depends who you ask.
Yeah, let us decide that, Grace. Yeah, we'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty hip, but the definition though of brush with greatness. I was thinking about that. What do you guys think of what that?
I think there has
is?
to be an interaction of some kind. It can't be just you're a spectator or like when you see somebody jogging. I saw, Jason Bateman jogging on Mulholland Drive once. We drove by, and that's not a brush with greatness. You're spotting somebody. So,
although I have one wrinkle to that because it applies to some of my brushes. If you sit next to them, if your table is next to them at dinner or breakfast throughout the whole meal, I still feel like that is a brush.
And you can overhear them.
Yes. I still feel like that is a brush. Would you?
I don't know. I still think that they have to acknowledge. I think they have to acknowledge you.
Well, in one case they did. In the other case, they totally ignored us.
Well.
So the other qualification is we decided it can happen as part of your work. That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I guess
so. It's any interaction with a great person.
Yes, great. Well, that's another question because where is the microphone on my iPhone? Is it on the back or is it on the bottom?
This is really professional. Yeah, this is the most professional podcast ever produced. Yeah.
It's on the bottom of it, right?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure. No, I'm pretty sure it is. You can cut that out.
When it became a pop culture reference, became ironic. You're saying this brush with greatness. Well, that person is not really great. They're just
It's just slightly ironic. No, I don't. I disagree. I mean, I think it's a brush with fame, or a brush with somebody who's extremely well known. That's all. I mean, the term "great" may be ironic. Yeah.
Yes, it could be a brush with real greatness, though. I mean, if you had the chance to meet, I don't know whom.
Carrot Top.
Winston Churchill. If you had the chance to meet him, then you would actually be meeting greatness, right?
So why do we like these stories?
That's the big question.
I think we like to tell them because it connects us with greatness. It connects us with fame and celebrity, and we get a kick out of that. But we also have fun listening to these stories. So why is that so appealing to just hear, even if it's somebody you don't know? Yeah,
I don't know, because it's not like it's even you, right? It's someone because I tell stories from other people all the time. I don't know. It's weird. We were talking about this. I have this website that I love called Delisted that is all gossip. And most of the people, I have no idea who they are. because I just don't I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV in probably 15 years. I just watch streaming stuff or movies or whatnot. So I don't know anyone from any of the reality shows. I don't know any network TV,
Same here.
anything like that. And yeah, so it's all about people like that, but it is so snarky and so filthy. And I love it so much. And occasionally I do read about people that I know about. And then there's this app called Quora, which is just almost like a higher level Reddit, perhaps. It seems a little more intellectual. And there's one line of discussion where people are always asking, who is the rudest celebrity you've ever met? Who is the nicest star? Who is the, things like that. And I always read those. Why do I even care?
There's something about conversation that was a survival. I mean, isn't this true that we like to just talk about other people because that was part of the survival strategy in like hunting and gathering life, is that you had to be part of a community of people who would tell you stories about what was going on out there. It's like, it's just your base, it's like before there were newspapers, before there was any kind of information system, just conversation around the campfire was a survival element.
Right.
I love evolutionary backstories.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, you could be right. Maybe that's it. And yeah.
Survival information. And then it becomes, in our world where we don't need all that information, it becomes gossip.
Twitter. It becomes Twitter.
And trivia. Yeah, exactly.
But it does in some ways, and this is why people supposedly reveal secrets that they've been told, because it boosts you in the pecking order or whatever.
You're more valuable.
And somehow I feel like a lot of the Brush with Greatness stories, people tell those stories for the same reason. I feel like I do.
Right.
I'll admit it.
That applies to any story. I mean, why story is embedded in our DNA. Why Brushes with Greatness? Why is that so
I think it's delightful.
appealing?
It's like a discovery. It's like somebody discovering treasure or something. You're out there, you're wandering around, and then suddenly, how am I standing in front of this person? It's like finding an Easter egg. It's fascinating.
Yeah, that's sort of like my theory. We either want our prejudices confirmed.
Right.
I want to find out that person that I really like is really a nice person, or we want to be surprised and find out they're not a nice person.
I don't know about that. I don't know about the nice guy or not nice guy. I think it's just interesting. What are they like? You're not really awaiting judgment on him. At least I don't. I just want to know, what was he like in person,
Right. But then that piece of information makes you feel good or confirms your prejudice.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I think it also goes back to that whole thing about it gives you a leg up. Oh, I thought Hitler was a jerk, and indeed he is. I thought that Kim Kardashian was a nitwit, and indeed she is. It confirms that I know what I'm talking about, even though it has absolutely no importance in the world. Wally, did you want to give your first story?
All my stories are old, and I haven't had a brush with greatness in decades.
Yeah.
You need to get out more.
Jeez.
Mid-1970s, Schenectady, New York.
So not only is it a long time ago, but it's in East Podunk.
I'm working as a crew guy at a TV station, and we're in an old church. It was a charity fundraiser, an award ceremony, something like that. And I'm alone at the back of the church, probably eating a donut, sitting at a table. A guy wanders over and sits on the table, arms folded, and it takes me a minute to process that it's Tony Randall. And this is during the Odd Couple on TV, so he was a bona fide
Jack Klugman.
Yeah,
Tony
he was
Randall.
a big deal at that. So I'm thinking, do I have to have a conversation with Tony Randall? And he goes, "How you doing?" And I say, "Good." And he's very pleasant. He asks me about my job. The only thing is, he seems to be kind of tired and bored and jaded, and he looks smaller and older than I thought he would, as many celebrities do. Then I'm thinking, well, this is an event he probably doesn't want to do. He's out on the road going from one place to the next. So desperate to have something meaningful to talk about, I said, it must be hard going from one town to the next, showing up every night. And Tony says, yeah, I'm exhausted. And then like a big sigh, and he says, also, it's tough to get laid in Schenectady.
I knew that was coming. I knew something like that was coming. That's funny.
How did you know that?
It's a perfect vaudeville line or something.
It's not,
and of course he did it with perfect timing, and I don't know where the conversation went after that, but
right.
I think he just made me laugh.
When I was working at the Living History Museum, Ken Burns came.
Oh yeah.
To do filming there because he was doing the Susan B. Anthony biography, and we had all buildings of that era, and they were well maintained, and there was plenty of space, and we could close stuff down for him, and so he came there. And it was interesting because, first of all, he's a little pixie guy.
Yeah.
He's not very tall. He had little dimples, so he's very cute, and he just seemed super pleasant. He was always smiling, and we just took him around, and they were very methodical about what they were doing. You could tell that whoever, I can't remember if he must have had a DP with him. They were very exacting in what they were trying to get and looking for the right light and the right setting. And so it was really interesting. And they were there for a few days, and he just never seemed to be a jerk. Let's put it that way. He always seemed like he was a professional trying to get this done. So that was really neat, I thought, because, I love film and filmmaking and things like that. And so here was someone who's really good at it. And just to watch him was fun.
See, I like that story because I like him.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that he's not a jerk.
And I believe that I have a credit on the Susan B. Anthony bio. I'm pretty sure I do.
Wow.
Yes. I don't know for what, because I didn't do anything.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice. That's neat.
I think they thanked us for the set.
Did they shoot you saying, take your place in history?
No. Do you remember that? Oh, God. Dave Wally wrote a bunch of radio ads for us.
Uh-huh.
The best one, though, was the one that we didn't use, where you said, what was it, Walt? I seen it. I seen the elephants.
Yeah, that Civil War guy.
Yeah.
That's what they said when they'd been to in a battle.
I've seen the elephant. That's cool.
Fun.
That's
but you kind of stole my thing because I once loaded Susan B. Anthony into a police van. So you took.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Is that what she got pardoned for? Or
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't put my hand on her head either, and I just bounced her right off the roof of the thing.
I heard she's a total bitch. Okay, that's what I heard about SBA. Okay, Dave, what's yours? Let's hear one of yours.
Okay, well, I'll give you my slightest one,
Okay.
which barely qualifies. It was the time when I made eye contact with Isabella Rossellini at the Guggenheim Museum.
Wow.
I was there. This would have been back in 2003. I had to look up the date. I can't believe it was this long ago, but it was the Matthew Barney exhibit, the Cremaster cycle, which is
Yeah. I saw some of those. I saw a few of those.
It's just the weirdest exhibit I'd ever seen, and I think it was intentionally weird and very highfalutin, esoteric. It was all about Freemasonry. High concept and just very self-conscious. So I was wandering around, and it was on all, it took up the whole museum basically. And there were all these different, the movies were showing, I think maybe they were just showing in one theater, but there were all these other little exhibits around. And I was just standing on one of those balconies, just that spiral balcony, and looking out through the space. And as I just sort of recognized her, and she was like, looking at me at almost the same time. And it wasn't like I was staring at her or anything. Mm-hmm. And she didn't have any makeup on. And I guarantee she did not want to be seen. She didn't want to be recognized, didn't want to engage with anybody. And the fact that I just immediately recognized her, and it was one of those moments where you don't take your eyes away because you're sort of startled in the act of recognition. And then she just looked like she was like horrified.
Oh, that's funny. I thought maybe you were going to say she like waved or something.
No, yeah. Well, no, I wish. Yeah, I wish. But she just looked like, oh my God. Either she thought I was somebody that she knew and she feared, or she thought I was a stalker or something. And she just like turned and just scurried away.
Oh, that's funny.
And I just tried to avoid her, from then on. Yeah, it was crazy.
Your description, though, of how you met her eyes, and it was like you couldn't look away because it took you that second to say, "Oh, I recognize this person." I think that does happen
Exactly,
a lot because
right.
you don't necessarily want to stare, but for a second, you're unable not to stare, and then you have to turn away because you don't want to be uncomfortable.
Well, you're just processing it. You're just thinking like, oh my God, look at who am I looking at here?
Right.
Is that really her?
Right. I mean, you can't turn away because your mind is working at that moment.
And so it's an unnatural amount of time. And so she's seeing that I'm looking at her, going through that process, not knowing that it's just the act of recognition. And she's thinking like, he's staring at me because he wants to come over and get my autograph, or he's going to, do something, something terrible. And then she took off.
Yeah.
So, but that was, it was very nice.
How does she live her life like that, scurrying away from
Yeah,
people?
I wonder. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I bet she did.
She didn't, she doesn't seem like that to me. Again, so here's the thing, like, I guess I was wrong about Isabella Rossellini because she doesn't seem like she would scurry.
She would scurry, yeah. Right. Well, she disappeared.
She's not the scurrying type.
What did you expect, Grace? That she'd be there eating a hot dog in the gallery, or?
No, that she would be so ultra cool that she wouldn't care who looked at her. She's Isabella Rossellini. She grew up. I mean, she's Ingrid Bergman's daughter, for God's sake. She's used to all of this,
right?
Right?
No kidding.
Yeah. So I just thought that she would be totally cool with whatever happened. Unless, of course, someone was like hanging on her shoulders or something. But
I think a lot of celebrities do not want to be. They don't want to engage. It's just too exhausting.
I think you're right.
There's too much.
It's funny though, because I said that one of my brushes with greatness could be, or part of my definition is having dinner or breakfast or whatever next to them. So one time, my brother and his girlfriend and I, we went to. We're living in New York. We went to New Jersey to see Frank Black play. Frank Black used to,
Oh, nice.
If you don't know Wally, because I know you hate music,
Pixies, yeah.
or you're not interested in music. Frank Black is an amazing solo artist, but he used to be in the Pixies, which is one of these hugely influential post-punk groups and whatever.
Right.
So we went to this club early, because we wanted to make sure it was small. We wanted to make sure we would get a good place to stand. And we decided to have dinner there. So we sat down, and 5 minutes later, they seat Frank Black and a couple of the people from his band next to us. And I'm talking about not 6 feet away. They weren't social distanced. I mean, they were a foot away from us.
Right.
And I kept saying to my brother, let's say something. And my brother was like, no, you can't. Because my brother's a musician, and, he does have lots of brushes with greatness through his job and all of that. And he just didn't want to engage. I was like, why? It's Frank Black. Why can't we say something? And he would not let me say anything. I mean, it's not like he forced me not to, but he definitely let me know that it would not be cool to do it.
Yeah, that's cool though. That is.
But Frank Black seemed friendly. He looked at us. He smiled.
Yep.
He seemed cool.
Yep.
But still put off a little aura of.
No, he didn't put that off at all, in fact. And that's why I didn't know why my brother didn't want to talk to him.
Aren't you sad that you didn't go talk to him?
I'm totally sad about it, because I feel like we could have been lifelong friends as a result. Maybe even marriage.
Yeah, maybe.
Could have been marriage.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
And divorce.
Yeah, of course. Nasty divorce.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was a courteous thing. That was courteous on his part, though. I mean, I think that's a nice gesture.
Well, it is. I know. And when you read those things about people meeting celebs or stars or whoever, someone famous, it seems like about half the time that the famous person does not want to engage. And I don't blame them at all.
I don't either. I think
people come up and do really stupid things too. Hey, can I get a selfie? And
the selfie thing, right?
Or even an autograph. Like, what good is someone's autograph? But I'm sure there are cool ways to do it, especially if you're sitting a foot away from them at dinner. That's my thought, but maybe other people would not agree with that. But then once during the Toronto Film Festival, when I lived in Toronto, we would go to the Four Seasons to scope out stars, and we went there for breakfast one day. And so we were at our table, and next to us on one side was Jean Reno, and on the other side was Philip Seymour Hoffman. That was super cool. So we didn't, both of them just looked over at one point. We just, made eye contact, nothing big, but it was very cool because Jean Reno at the end of his breakfast got up and went and talked to Philip Seymour Hoffman, and he's like, "Oh, I really like your work," and they're both like a mutual admiration society, and it was cool because I love both of those actors, and it was really cool to see one go up to the other and just be a fanboy like that. Really, it was clear that he thought a lot of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
You could have shouted over, "Fairport, New York, represent."
You're right. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, and his mother, is she still a judge around there? She was a judge, right?
Oh, probably, yeah.
Huh.
Well, what's your next one, Walt?
Well, I keep thinking one of yours has to be to do with racing, and it has to be Paul Newman. That's my guess, but I could be wrong about that.
Had lunch with Siskel and Ebert.
Oh, you had lunch with them?
Yeah, well, it was a lunch in a conference room with 10 other people.
That's cool, though. What was the scoop on that? Were you doing?
They were on a publicity tour and, visiting all the affiliates across the country. And there was really nothing to it. I never talked to them or anything, but what came across was that, just like the rumors, they really did hate each other.
Really?
And they were not happy to be on this tour.
Wow.
We were probably the 20th place they'd been to, and they were just kind of, let's have lunch and get the hell out of here and get to the next thing. And
really, that's interesting.
It was uncomfortable.
Really? Wow.
Between the two of them and between them and everybody else.
I'm sure.
A bad vibe.
I guess I had heard that somewhere.
Yeah, they did. I think they legitimately did not like each other, especially after a few years of working together.
Yeah, right.
Ebert kind of won that contest. I mean, he's the one that people still. I mean, they've used his name as a brand for a website, for movie reviews.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like he was the more serious critic.
So I'm at another event, mid-late 70s. It's a speaking event. There are a bunch of speakers lined up, sitting in folding chairs on a stage, and there's an emergency. And of course, I have to do something stupid. There's like an electric cord has gotten unplugged, and I have to crawl across the stage and plug it in on the other side. So I'm going along.
You're the roadie.
Yeah, like a roadie. And I'm dragging the cord behind me and crouched down behind the last row of speakers' chairs. And it's pitch black and I can't really see where I'm going. And I get to the other side and I go around the end of a flat and stand up. And I'm face to face with a woman who's looking in a pocket mirror applying lipstick. And it's Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
And she's just like Rossellini.
Uh-huh.
She's kind of startled, and I'm startled, and it's dark. This was the middle of the Vietnam thing, and when she was supposed to be hippie-ish and cool.
Yeah.
And here she is applying makeup, like she wasn't supposed to care about how she looks, but here she is.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing that. She looks at me and kind of raises her eyebrows and shrugs, like, "You caught me." Then she winks, like, what the hell, we're all in this together. And it was kind of a nice little moment. She seemed, obviously from a 2-second engagement.
Yeah,
she
that's
could be
cool.
anything, but she seemed like a nice person. But what I really took away from that was that there's a reason that there are movie stars. And I don't mean actors, but real movie stars are not like normal people.
They have that aura.
They have unnatural genes. And she was just glowing and stunning in a way that normal people are not.
Well, that was
right.
That was like with the Toronto Film Festival, we'd go to the bar at the Four Seasons, and I saw many, many huge stars there, right? So Pierce Brosnan, Keanu Reeves, William H. Macy, Helena Bonham Carter. Right. I mean, tons and tons of people. And for me, Keanu Reeves and Pierce Brosnan have always been, men that I just thought were so unbelievably good looking. And in person, they were. I mean, Keanu Reeves looked amazing. He had on one of those, this is before John Wick, but he had on a John Wick suit. He looked really good. Pierce Brosnan, just very elegant. And they both seemed very cool. I think Pierce Brosnan a couple of times seemed like he was going up and chatting with people who are obvious. Well, I don't know. They didn't seem like other stars or anything. They seemed just like fans, and he was chatting with them. And But sometimes I wonder, so those two men and Jane Fonda, absolutely gorgeous. But sometimes I wonder, do we give stars more credit for gorgeousness that maybe they don't necessarily have? I mean, the three people that we were just talking about are gorgeous people. But there are some people that they say that the camera loves them, and then when you see them in person, they're not as good looking somehow. But the camera does, there's something that, who knows what it is about their features or their skin or whatever.
Right. I think there are a lot of those people too that you wouldn't pick them out of a crowd, but when they get the makeup and hair and lighting, there's something
You're
different
conditioned. I mean, your mind is conditioned to see what you see when you're looking at the screen.
This is not a brush with greatness, but my son did some modeling for Fisher-Price once. And I remember they were doing all digital shooting. And I remember at one point, the photographer, you could see all the shots just coming up. And he said, his skin just glows, doesn't it? And I never thought of his skin as glowing, but in the camera, it did. It just, something about his skin was just really fabulous.
That was a real mic drop moment. My son did some modeling for Fisher-Price. Whoa.
Well, no, please, they didn't. That is not spectacular because many, many kids around here do, because Fisher-Price is right in East Aurora, which is, a half an hour drive. And you don't get anything except like a $25 gift card. So we did it a few times just because he had fun. He had fun doing it. And I was like, sure, let's go shopping at the Fisher-Price store afterwards. But he did end up in a bunch of catalogs and on a box, the Bat Friends Bat Cave box, I think it was. And of course, he ended up on a box, not of a $5 piece of crappy plastic, but on a $55 piece of crappy plastic.
Wow.
So I only could buy one. I'm like, I'm not buying more than one of these just because you're on the box.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But that was fun. I have all his catalogs and stuff.
What a great thing.
Yeah.
It was fun.
That'll get him laid.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
That'll get him laid.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You want to come up and see my Fisher-Price toys?
That'll get him laid in Schenectady.
Jeez Louise.
I have my encounter in Ithaca. So I drove down. I've been to 2 Spoon concerts. And the first one was the Beachland Ballroom, which is a little club. This was early on when Gimme Fiction came out. It was like the tour after Gimme Fiction, so it was, God, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. And it was just an empty dance floor with a bar on each side and a stage, and I don't know, a few hundred people would have been there, and stood right next to the stage. I mean, so it was right before they'd already gotten a lot of critical acclaim, but it wasn't really when they weren't anywhere near what they are now. But the second time I went to see them, and this wasn't maybe, 5-6 years ago, they were playing at the State Theater in Ithaca. And so I got down there early and I hadn't eaten anything. So I went down, I just wandered down Main Street or whatever street it's on, and just went into a bar. And I walked up to the bar and I was waiting, to get served. I just wanted a beer before I went into the concert. And Britt Daniel just walks up and stands next to me and orders food for the guys in the band. And I didn't even know. It was like what we were talking about before. At first, I didn't realize it was him. And then I looked over and I thought, oh, my God, it's Britt Daniel. And so I just, after about a minute or so, I just said, Britt Daniel. And he just turned and smiled and shook my hand. And he was really, really nice, really friendly, and he, asked me who I was, where did I come from. Well, first he said, "Where did you come from?" And I said, "Rochester, New York." What's your name? And I said, "Dave Dorsey." And I thought, I wondered if he connected something, because when I'd say back in the Gimme Fiction time, I had written to their manager because I thought, oh, I'd just love to do a book following these guys around for 6 months.
Yeah, that'd
about,
be cool.
Their creative process and their kind and everything else. A fly on the wall book, kind of like the Xerox book. And of course, they didn't want to do it. And I just wondered if that stuck in his mind, that somehow he remembered there was somebody, in Rochester who had written to them and wanted to do that, but probably not. But it was great. He wanted to know more about me than I wanted to know about him. And of course, I couldn't think of anything I should have asked at the time or have said, how much I like the early stuff.
But then But then you guys got married,
Yeah,
right? If you hadn't met him,
Right.
that would not have happened.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, and then later on, I went back and halfway through the concert, there was a break. I went and to the back. I was waiting to get a drink, and I was in line with somebody, and I heard her talking. I said, "Yeah, I ran into Britt Daniel just telling her, did you get a selfie? Did you get a photo?" I said, "No, I didn't even think to do it." And I thought, how what an idiot I am. And then I thought, hey, that was kind of nice not to ask him for a selfie, you know.
Yeah, well, you were an adult, right?
I know, exactly. So you don't even, it's not programmed into you. I mean, I don't even think of doing that with anybody. I don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
Right, ask for an autograph or take a picture.
It just didn't even occur to me.
Because what's the point?
That's making it all about you.
Yeah, it does make it all about you, but it's also proof that it actually happened. Like I did a post on Facebook, and somebody on Facebook said, "What, no photo?"
Yeah, right. Chicago, O'Hare International Airport, 1990. Waiting for a flight, wander up to a closed-off VIP first-class area. I see a woman seated in the distance. Couldn't think of her name at first, but then later I found out it was Morgan Fairchild.
Oh, man. Oh, boy.
Morgan Fairchild.
As I'm standing there trying to think of Morgan Fairchild, I notice this older guy, and he kind of gets up, and a woman rushes over and grabs him by the shoulder, and another young guy rushes over, and the flight is called, and this guy is staggering, and they're helping him to get to the gate, and it's Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, wow.
Drunk as a skunk.
Wow. No kidding.
Wow.
So that's not really a brush. I didn't interact with him.
It's sad. It's very sad.
Morgan Fairchild and Dick Van Dyke? What was that about?
Together.
That would have been better.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, that's what I always found really fun about the Toronto Film Festival, though. There were so many huge stars like crammed into a 6-block area, and you just, you couldn't help but run into them. But it was interesting. Sometimes even if you didn't have an encounter, like you could see them having encounters with other people, like Dustin Hoffman and Dennis Quaid and Kevin Spacey and, Nick Nolte and God, who else? Who was he walking with that day? Oh God, James Spader. It was really interesting just to see the way they would react to the people reacting to them too. Like Dustin Hoffman seemed like he was into it. Dennis Quaid too. People were yelling and waving to him, and he was just walking along the street, and he'd just kind of smile and wave and whatever. But Kevin Spacey, who we all know now is a turd, he was very kind of aloof when he came out. Anyway, whatever. It's just really fun to see all of those people together, and then you can immediately see the differences among them. You know?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Dave?
So I was a reporter at the Utica Observer-Dispatch. This was 1981.
81,
they said,
wow.
Bill Murray's coming to town. He's going to sing the national anthem at the Utica Blue Jays baseball game. And apparently he had bought part ownership in the team because Brian Doyle Murray, I think, had induced him to put some money into him.
That's interesting.
And I guess I was looking up some of his baseball activities, and for a year or two in that period, I think he just played as kind of a mascot or something on a variety of different teams, and had a couple at bats, and he got an on base hit with one team and struck out with the other. So his career batting average was 500. So he comes to town, and they say go interview him, do a little piece, and this would have been right after the end of his SNL period. After Meatballs, and I think it was the same year as Stripes.
So had he made Caddyshack yet?
Yeah, Caddyshack. I think Caddyshack. That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think those were already out.
So he was big.
So he was well known. Yeah, he was big. But I'm surprised at how fast that happened. Like he was doing that at the same time as SNL, and his career kind of took off immediately. And so I thought it was going to be a lot of fun. So I show up at the field, and we're in some kind of like a little trailer or something. And he comes in, and he just looked hungover or just sort of exhausted. He wasn't the Bill Murray persona. He wasn't trying to be funny. And it was almost like interviewing a child. They say that's the worst situation, is having to interview kids.
Yeah.
But he answered all the questions, and he was fine. He was polite. And there just weren't that many. There just wasn't that much time. He didn't give me all that much time. So it was, it was a kind of a short story. But at one point he said something like, well, I got in yesterday with my wife and, we did this and that. And so I had some reference to his wife in the story and thought nothing about it. And then like 2 weeks later, there was a little notice in Time magazine, just revealed Bill Murray gets married, privately to so-and-so. This was the woman he was married to for so many years and then got divorced from. But so I'd scooped, that was my scoop, is that he was, that he'd gotten married and I didn't even realize it. So it was kind of a Mr. Magoo.
Oh, that's funny.
Act of reporting.
You broke the news.
Yeah, I broke the news.
That made your career.
Yeah, right. It made my career. I accidentally revealed his marriage. Yeah.
Well, the whole thing with like comedians not being really, well, I guess I never really expected them to be crazy funny in person, but I guess I always thought that there would be some aspect of it. But again, when I was living in Toronto, I knew someone who was a producer at one of the Toronto talk shows, and so that would have been like a national show because Toronto is the city in Canada. So anyway, a group of us from work went, and Dave Foley was the guest, and I am a huge Kids in the Hall fan. Yeah. And
Foley's great.
I don't know if he was always my favorite one. Mark McKinney might have been my favorite, but I still like Dave Foley a lot. So this woman who was the producer said, "Oh, I'll introduce you to him afterwards." And so, but it was so awkward because she's like, "Oh, Dave, I have someone I want you to meet. This is Grace. She's a fan, Yeah. And it was like that automatically just puts you at a like, she's a fan. She wants to stalk you,
Right.
And there was like a rope between us. And he was nice enough to chat with and everything, but he just seemed very kind of wary, Yeah. And even though he said, for example, I talked about being from Buffalo originally, and he said, "Oh, we used to go to Buffalo for culture in the 70s or whatever it was." And we had a nice little talk, but then the producer was like, "Okay, thanks," and that was it.
Right.
And then he sat in this little area. People could go in this little area and have a drink later on. And he and a friend of his or whomever were sitting in this little area. But again, their little table was roped off. There was like the one table that was roped off. And I just thought, I don't know. I guess there are a lot of people who would take advantage of being around a celebrity like that and be really obnoxious. So maybe that's why they have to be roped off. But he just seemed very wary and not what you would expect from, seeing him in Kids in the Hall. Because actually, my sister and I went to see, when they did a tour, we went to see them a couple of times. And in one case, we had front row seats. And at one point during the show, he had to come out and kind of make his way through the front row seats so no one would see him. And so all of a sudden we looked up and there he is right there. And he just kind of looked at us, like in a funny way. So it was that was a little different experience of him. But then, I don't know. Anyway, that's my Dave Foley story. So
Murray, once he got on, he was mangling making up new lines for the national anthem and all kinds of things. So he was very funny when he got out and actually did his work. But it's like they need their downtime. But when you think about it, it's just two strangers who are trying to make conversation. It's like, what do you say to the cashier at Wegmans? It's a similar situation for them. They don't know you. They don't know anything about you. And, what are they going to say?
Well, it's true. But I always really enjoy just talking to strangers. And so I enjoy talking and I enjoy hearing myself talk. So maybe that's the difference. Yeah, I'll keep it going maybe past the point where someone wants to go.
Lime Rock, Connecticut. Lime Rock is a racetrack. Early 1970s, during my very brief racing career. Lunchtime, no cars on the track, blisteringly hot. You have to wear fireproof underwear, fireproof t-shirt, fireproof outerwear, fireproof balaclava, and a helmet and gloves.
People still have to wear all that stuff today?
Oh, yeah. If you want to live.
So I was absolutely soaked.
Completely dead.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hot through and through.
And the worst part is when you have to go back out again, then you have to put on that sweat-soaked clothing. So I was looking for a place to dry off. So there was a chain link fence, and I'm walking along the fence. Everybody's done the same thing. They've all plastered their sweaty Nomex on the fence. And I'm walking along, and I hear a voice say, "Hey, come here, we got a clothesline." And it's Paul Newman.
No.
Yeah, there you go. Paul Newman.
Paul.
Grace was right.
He's got an RV there.
He's got his blue eyes with him. He had
The blue eyes.
right?
Okay, Grace, settle down.
Joanne was up on the roof reading a book in a folding chair, and he says, "Come here," and he pushes his own stuff down the clothesline to make space.
That's great.
And so I drape my stuff on his clothesline, and I say, "Well, this is great, thanks a lot." And he says, "It's really freaking hot, isn't it?" And I said, "This was really good." Comeback. I said, "It really is hot." And that was the end of that.
You said, yeah. Well, you know what's too bad is that kids now only know him as the guy on the dressing bottle.
Right.
They have
exactly.
no idea
But
who
in
he
line
is.
with our other stories, he
Yeah.
seemed like a really nice guy from that 5-second engagement.
Yeah,
And he looked like a movie star.
I bet. He had a halo. He had rays
right.
of sun coming out from behind his head.
No, he's one of the genuinely really good people, in Hollywood, and there aren't that many, but he's one of them. Yeah. Hanks.
Well, like
Tom
Keanu,
Hanks.
Right? Keanu's a good guy.
Okay, I'll toss in the one. I'm going to college, all-male college. This goes back now. This is late 60s.
This is the 1935.
Gloria Swanson was my roommate.
You were drinking with you were out drinking with William Holden and
Errol Flynn.
Errol
They
Flynn.
had a mixer. You know what that is? Since we're at
sure.
an all-male college and there were all
Yeah,
female colleges,
party.
they would bus in people from colleges and they'd have a dance or something. And
Oh, right.
they bring in girls from
Okay.
this other college, and me and 2 other guys kind of hook up with these 3 girls. So we go back to the dorm.
In the sense that in the today's vernacular hookup?
No, in the 1960s Catholic college sense. We went back to our dorm room and played Risk.
What? Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
When they would on a Saturday night, and they would say, "Okay, these girls can visit in your room, but leave the door open." And the resident assistant would walk up and down like in the prison, looking in each door to make sure.
And one of those girls was Gloria Swanson.
One of them was Gloria Swanson. We played Risk, and one of the girls was just not happy. She just didn't want to be there. She didn't like us.
Huh.
We decided we went down to the Miss Worcester Diner where they had amazing cheeseburgers. And she didn't care about that either. That didn't impress her.
I bet.
So finally it got old, and she obviously wanted to leave, and she talked her friends into leaving, and we took them back to the bus, and they went back to their college. And that girl was Hillary Clinton.
What?
Oh, that's great.
Wait.
Oh man.
Really?
Yeah, really.
You are shitting me. Holy crow.
My last story, I'm parking cars at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center. It's a summer job. This is, again, late 1960s. Some kind of a celebrity event. People are gathered at the main gate to watch celebrities arrive. Purple Cadillac pulls up. I open the door. It's Larry Storch.
Oh,
Larry
great.
Storch.
Yeah, see, that would mean nothing to most listeners now. But that's great.
I know. Even people maybe like 50 and over might not.
He jumps out of the car and he plays to the crowd, does some broad pantomime, offers me a tip, and I join in and put up my hands like I can't take that.
God.
So I did a bit with Larry Storch.
If you enjoyed this episode of Charbroiled Chats, and even if you could barely tolerate it, you should subscribe. And if you'd like to get in touch with Grace, Dave, and Wally, easy. Tweet them at @charbroilc or send an email to charbroiledchats@gmail.com. Tweet, email, subscribe. Go ahead. You have nothing to lose, except a little self-respect.